We're wrapping up our study on the evils of ESG. As with all of ESG, the G, it sounds good, but it's a scam. G is a gender, race, sexual preference quota system. It's not about ideological diversity. In fact, it requires conformity above all else. You can even self-identify. Here's the article. Academic union allows members to self-identify as black, disabled, or opposite sex. That's crazy. But if you promote the current views, the proper views, the ones that they want to force on you, it's okay. You can be black if you want to be black. You just have to think this way. In the free markets and education, we're already solving the race and really gender problems that we had. We have genuine diversity building, but that's not the point. The real goal is to take control of corporate America. ESG is about weaponizing your money against your values. The E is to force climate change and global warming as if it's the primary purpose of all of corporate America. If it's a climate emergency, they get control of everything, over every aspect of production, and you're not allowed to object. This allows total control over the means of production. That's what the Marxists dreamt of. In China, the law says that every company must serve the Chinese Communist Party. Here, the goal is to make all corporations serve the intellectual elites, the leftists, the Marxists. This is fascism to implement Marxism. The S stands for social justice. They're forcing corporations to adopt critical race theory as a means toward the Marxist state. And they're funding the critical race education taking place in colleges and high schools and elementary schools. Do you ever wonder why the brands that you love and buy have suddenly become enforcers of woke? Why? They do that because they're being funded to do that. That's why. The S in ESG, if you object, you're labeled a racist. Now we've covered the G. It's an excuse to place those who ideologically fall in line at the top of every major corporation in America to make permanent the Marxist takeover. It's not about helping minorities. It's not about advancing women. It's about an agenda. But that agenda is not what most investors want. Despite the lies, there is no proof that mandating gender or racial diversity improves performance. True diversity probably does make a difference. But that would require ideological diversity rather than groupthink. And if diversity improves results, the free market's going to reward it. Smart investors are going to shift their investment from non-diverse companies to truly diverse companies. There's no need for a quota system. We've done polling. We've asked investors, what do you want? They want better performance. But they don't want ESG forced on them. In fact, given a choice, they far prefer liberty, security, and values, which we call LSV. People want LSV, not ESG. So let's take a look at the performance of our stock market, and let's compare it to Europe over the past couple of decades. Because the Europeans bought into all this woke stuff, and they bought into it 20 plus years ago, and they have a top-down regulatory state that enforces it. They've implemented the provisions of ESG, and the net results, well, dare I say it, they suck compared to ours. Here's a 20-year chart comparing the results of the S&P 500, these are the top 500 companies in America, to the stocks, STOXX, which represents the top 600 European companies. The purple line here shows American stocks, and the black line shows European stocks. You can see American stocks have far and away performed better. That's because ESG doesn't really aid performance. Yeah, it looks like that a while, and you'll see studies on it because ESG's thrown a lot of money into big companies like Google and Apple and Facebook, and claiming that, well, you know, they're all woke and good and everything else. And yes, those have been among the best performers in the market. But there will come a time at which those are not the best performers. And over the long term, the principles of liberty, security, and values will far outperform ESG, we believe. Now, nobody can predict where the market's going, and I'm not making a prediction here. I can just say that mandates hamper economic performance, and when the government gets involved, the economies perform worse. We see that in Heritage Foundation studies and everything else. And let me say again, it's not about performance to these people. It's about control. I have good news, though. We can fight back.